Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. It's great to see you back on our schedule, right? Back on our schedule. What busy times it has been. Thank you for the messages. I got a lot of messages yesterday saying good luck on the first day of school with the kids, and it was a fine day. It was just fine. Nothing bad happened. So that is where we have set the bar in our lives right now. Nothing bad happened. And it's a big to be continued because the first day is always a great novelty, isn't it? Remember the first days of school? Oh my gosh, so much fun. So much fun. But it all went well, and thank you so much for asking for everybody who wrote me. I was very sort of down and feeling blue about the whole thing. But isn't it funny that they bring the kids back to school and then there is immediately a holiday weekend? In fact, the holiday weekend that used to mark when we went back to school, that has all changed. So now they're always back before Labor Day. And then I find myself, as the weekend approaches, saying, God, Labor Day used to really mean something. I used to really look forward to it. It was a 3-day weekend. And I'm thinking, what can I do with the kids? Just some little adventure, because we've done a lot lately. What little thing could we do just to celebrate that weekend that used to be such a big deal? Now it's just sandwiched right behind the first days of school. It's so strange, isn't it? So strange. Mom, I see you on there. Happy Wednesday. Good to see you. Kirsten, happy Wednesday. Beautiful, cool, and breezy in Vermont. I feel like I don't see that well. Let me try something else here. I do need to get some different glasses, Mom. I know. I've got 3 pairs of glasses here. None of them are doing the job. Karen, great to see you. Oh, you're doing some baking peanut butter cookies. How fun is that? That feels a little seasonal to me, getting the oven going again, right? Getting that heat inside the house. That is something that's a bit seasonal, isn't it? It's been so hot for so long. Cheryl, great to see you. Happy Wednesday. My mom says, I just went grocery shopping and tore myself away from the ice cream aisle. I so wanted ice cream, but Good Health Angel was shouting in my ear. Yeah, it's all the balance thing, isn't it? Easy for me to say because I've been off the cart for so long with health. I was at the gym yesterday and today, so woohoo! First time I've gone 2 days in a row for a long time. I just feel like I can barely lift my arms. I'm just ready. I'm just so tired. It's exhausting, but I guess it is a good thing to do. Linda B, great to see you, sunshiny in New Jersey. Oh, Cheryl says hello from Big Pine, Florida. Big Pine, Florida. That sounds beautiful. Heidi, great to see you in Belgium. Oh, wait a minute. I lost track of the thing. Nice to hear. It was a fine day. It was just fine. I mean, yeah, nothing bad happened. It wasn't, it used to be such a big deal. It's just, I so lament and mourn like the things that have changed over the years. And I guess that's just being a kind of old-fashioned person and liking old-fashioned things and liking old things and things like this, right? Things like this. But yeah, it just all seems so different lately. It really does. The older the kids get, I'm thinking, gosh, I hope they haven't missed too much of the great sort of character of growing up. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. Dave, great to see you. Is it a cleanup? You're finding lost treasures. How fun is that? It is so fun to clean up one's own house, particularly the attic, basement, and you do find all kinds of treasures that at one time you bought. So the follow-through thought is you did love them at one time, and it's great to be reunited with those old things, isn't it? It's so fun and funny to go through stuff. Avoiding all the spiders for me. I've got to get back in the basement. And there's like tons of like bugs and stuff. I pulled out one of the dyeing pans I haven't used for a while, and there was like a dead centipede in it, and I was like, that is my least favorite creature on earth. I will take 1,000 mosquitoes over these little, it was a big centipede, but they are so gross and so fast and just so feathery. There's so many legs there. It's just awful. Cindy, great to see you. Oh, Mom, thank you. Ducky Derby on September 11th. Okay. Oh, I was hoping it was this weekend. There's a duck derby coming up. I may have told you about this. I'm sure you're going to see a rug being produced as a sort of side thing, but I'm sure I said this, where they dump the ducks over the edge of the bridge, and it's a form of gambling, and they're numbered, and then the kids and adults run to see which ducks came in first. That's the duck derby. So that's happening near my mom. I'm going to have to be there for that. My favorite part of the duck derby is when those people that are standing on the bridge are about to dump those buckets of hundreds and hundreds of ducks, and when they do it, it's like this psychedelic moment where it's just a blur of yellow, like it's just a wall of yellow that comes down. I've never seen anything like it. Hundreds of ducks all at once, and then they hit the water and off they go. Some of them right side up, some of them backwards and forwards, and it's just so fun. It's so fun. I guess it's something that's like really taking off in a lot of communities. I was talking to, good morning, Linda Ann. I was having a few conversations this morning. One of them was about Amish toothbrush, because the first Amish toothbrush that I ran, I mean, I even hate to say this out loud, and thought I recorded. I definitely hit the record button. There is no question. I'm guessing there was a software update or one of these gifts that I often get, but it did not record. So I'm going to run another. I needed to run one anyway, so I'm going to run another one coming up, and I'm going to be recording it for people who can't make it. If you are interested in learning Amish toothbrush, which is the form of rug making, it's a one-stitch wonder using what looks like a little broken off end to a toothbrush, hole in it, let me know, because I'm going to be planning that in the next week or two, and I can still send out kits if you're interested of the 100% cotton broadcloth that go into these kits to make the Amish toothbrush rugs. So if you felt like you missed that, it's coming around again, as Carly Simon would say. That was one thing. And another thing was, I was listening to some messages from Kirsten in the car on the way over. We're talking about dyeing wool. And I was thinking, maybe I should just do for September just a full blast dyeing month, because there are so many techniques that I think people would like to learn, like the confetti dyeing, what to do with like your selvages, all different kinds of special effects and different kinds of tie-dye, all the shibori and all of the sort of Asian techniques that you can use on wool, all kinds of surface decoration, painting. I saw Beverly was stenciling yesterday. There's all kinds of things that you could do. So I thought maybe it'd be a good thing to do a full blast dyeing techniques month, either September or October, or maybe techniques October, maybe September. We should just have a month of videos, not here because it's too hard to do here, looking at different kinds of dyeing, actual dyeing. And Kirsten, you made a great point in the phone message you left me. You said something, and I don't know if you did it on purpose, but it triggered a great thought, that you said something like talking about color theory, not relating to the color wheel, but relating to dyeing. And there is a huge distinction there, because of course when you are dyeing, you cannot think about the color wheel. It's apples and oranges, right? You put in blue dye, and you've got red in there, you've got purple in there, you've got brown, you might have green in there, you might have yellow in there. It's completely a different game, and it's different from color to color. So I thought for the next couple of months, there are so many people that seem keen to dye right now. I'm going to record like a significant number of videos, short videos on one specific thing, so you can jump in and get going. And if you're someone who's thinking, I've been thinking about it, but it's hard to galvanize and get going because there's so much to it. I'll start by making videos that are just for you, that are like, you know RIT dye, you know where to get the RIT dye. Let's look at that first. Let's look at 3 colors and all of the shades you can make with those 3 colors. And let's look at the things that you can dye besides wool that you can cut up and hook with or punch with after that. So I think it's a good time of the year to do that, right? We're getting all feverish and excited again about our big hooking season, which is the fall winter, right? Those chilly months. No Man's Van, great to see you. Let it go, junk be gone. You're singing, Dave. That is funny. But don't throw too much junk out, because you know you regret it tomorrow, the thing that you threw out today. That sounds like one of these horrible parables or something. Parables that enable hoarders. There must be a whole collection of poems and haiku that relate to enabling hoarders. But yeah, don't throw it out because you'll regret it tomorrow. That's awful advice. I'm sorry. Sue's, great to see you. Cat's Gallery, great to see you. But let me know what you're thinking about and what you're looking for, because I am in serious video mode. I am going to do a few quilting videos too coming up in the very near future. I've got on the other side of this wall, there are 2/3 new areas with different sets like this, but a table and stuff around, and I'm working on figuring out what to put up behind, but different places to record, so that when you pull up a video, when you see my background, you'll say, okay, well, this is obviously coffee time. I know what I'm in for. Or, this is like where she sits when she does a video about quilting, so this must be a quilt video, or This is a dying video, so it's all coming together. I'm trying anyway. So let's head back to Sauder Village. We were still walking through Sauder Village. It was such a vast exhibit of rugs. So much to see. And like I said on Monday, last episode, let's not squander any of it. Let's look at what's there. Linda N says a whole collection of poems encouraging hoarders, right? That would be a great theme, wouldn't it? It would be a feel-good theme. I have so many self-help books on the side of my bed, right? The bedside table, I think it's called. I could use this one. Poems that enable hoarding. I think that's a great idea. That has been missing from the market too long. Who's getting on that? All right, let's see. So we might have left off here with the unicorn. I remember talking about this and talking about the grouping of colors to make small motifs like this work. Tad, great to see you. Good morning in Hudson Valley. Great to see you. I love the color studies you've been putting up lately. They are all beautiful and inspiring. We were talking about small motifs, like in the background here, we have the prominent unicorn, but then we've got some smaller characters. And it is nice to group colors around a small character because on its own, a small motif like the fox, like maybe that looks like a Magdalena dog, like the little blue bird or blue jay, they can't really hold their own because they're that petite. So it is nice to group colors around them to draw your eye to them. Stash builder poems. Get going. Get going. I think you got the first line of it. Linda Ann, love it. I'll take a copy. That's so funny. I think that's a great idea. And just so you know, I have not forgotten. I do a lot of behind the scenes things with my mouth shut because sometimes I notice other rug hookers doing similar things to me, which is fine because I'll have another good idea tomorrow, but it still triggers me. So I keep a lot of it under my hat. But I have been working behind the scenes on putting together the idea for the best way to publish a magazine, and not an online magazine, a proper magazine. And that is not, and there's somebody that I've been in touch with who's been helping a lot with that. This is something that is forthcoming for sure, because we did a lot with Wall Street Journal, and we were talking a lot about having our great ideas, having our projects, patterns that we share, poems, funny things, recipes, different seasons, different things. We have been talking about that all along, and I have not forgotten or dropped the ball on that. It's just something that's in the background, kind of crystallizing for me. But the poems will be something that go in there. A whole issue that revolves around that theme would be very funny. Now this is another beauty. This is another one that really strikes me as an Alita Akers. I think it must be the artist Alita Akers who licenses work with Cushing. Cushing owns the rights to Alita's patterns, and they really are beautiful. They always look at first glance like an Art Deco, like 1920s, 30s era book illustration, and they are contemporary. They are so charming. This is the style that she loves, the style that she works in. One of the things I thought was remarkable about this, because she does a lot with storybook cottages, and it really is like the world of the old Hallmark card, right? It really is like an old box of stationery or another time, right? These really look like another time. What valley is this where all of these little storybook houses live? Where are they? I would love to know. I would love to visit. Probably doesn't exist, right? It exists in storybooks. It exists in our imaginations because there is a backstory for us, at least in our generation, of books with these storybook cottages in them. And for that reason, I think they are so nostalgic and so charming. But this one has an extra pop. This one's got some extra drama. Remember the lighthouse rug we were looking at on Monday? And it had so much drama in the sky with that open sort of panel of light coming through at the end of the day. But it also had the added drama of just seeing the precarious position of the lighthouse and house right on the edge of the ocean. That was pretty busy and active, the water. This piece has the same kind of drama for me. It's a lot of snow. It's almost a scary amount of snow. But you feel comforted when you see that the birds are in the sky. There are some little animals that are bouncing around, making footprints on the snow. It is all okay, but it is a remarkable snowstorm. Wendy, good to see you taking a break from painting a door frame. That sounds good. I think if you paint too much, you automatically get brain damage, right? No matter what paint you're using. Or at least let's make that one of our other anti-logical isms. To take a break in order to enable you to take a break. That sounds very civilized, right? You can't just keep painting. I love the shadows on the snow too, Tad. You know, there are two schools of putting shadows on the snow for rug hookers, aren't there? It's the school of gray, and we see that a lot. We see that in the photorealism pieces. We see that in a lot of sort of Currier and Ives type work. But then we also see the Maud Lewis school of snow, and that is the blue. Blue, light blue, periwinkle blue on white. And that's what we're seeing here. So if that sounds interesting to you, or you're going to be working on a snowscape, look up Maud Lewis for sure, and look up what she did in her paintings in handling snow, because it was always a track of blue. It was like, I wouldn't say it was a signature thing. We have to remember she was always painting with marine paints and leftovers, and she didn't always have the full color palette that she needed. But interesting how well that blue worked, and we are seeing that in this piece as well. So really, really lovely. The thing that is truly stand out about this piece, I don't know if you've noticed, there is some Waldeboro action happening on here. And for those of you who are new to the show, the Waldeboro is like raised relief, sculptural rug hooking that stands up higher and is hooked higher and clipped with a pair of scissors, regular ones or fancy ones, to be shaped. And in this case, it is on, it's like collected snow, right? Let me see, I think I have a closer up, a little bit closer up. You can see it in several places, down by the sort of tractor thing on the bottom left, ledges of snow right outside the house, and collected snow like on the branches of the trees. It's a rather large piece, isn't it? I'm looking at the scale of the tag next to it with all that information. It is a really large piece, but what a beautiful piece, right? Just catching up on your comments too. Really lovely. Alita Akers, A-K-E-R-S. Did I put that one in twice? Entirely likely. Oh, okay, so moving on to a different panel here. Another kind of sort of Penn Dutch feeling rooster, special up on top with some pretty flowers. And then down below, two smaller pieces. I see the words country fair. I wonder what that relates to. Two smaller pieces. The one on the right, I wonder if that's on the bottom. I wonder if that's all hooked. It looks like it has flowers in the corners. Interesting. Gosh, I just got a flash of Quilly. It's a sheep in the middle. I can see it clearly now. I can see clearly now. And then the border around, is that wood or is that fabric or is that hooked? Because you see a beautiful shape on the inside with a lovely little sheep in there. And then the four bright flowers. Isn't that pretty? On the left, remember my picture is much smaller. That looks more like a pig to me on the left. Let me know if I'm right on that. And then really lovely roosters, right? Roosters, not chicken. Are they chickens? They're roosters with all those feathers, aren't they? I got to catch up on my farm knowledge, right? Really pretty piece, very traditional colors, but you know, it really pops it. You do expect to see traditional colors, fairly literal, really limited color palette, but so beautifully done. Lots of glorious shading happening here. Loving the feathers, the nice curls, the big fat round bodies on the birds. Very stylized, very sweet. It looks to me like, it reminds me of the toll painting, you know, like Penn Dutch toll painting, or that wave, do you remember in the 80s, 90s, all those toll painting magazines that came out in catalogs, everyone was doing toll painting, and how they would show you at the beginning of the book a few brush strokes, like sweeping ones, things to make horseshoes or flower petals or a broken line. And in theory, you could use all of those simple shapes and sweeps to do your whole project. That toll painting was so beautiful, and it crosses over so well to rug making projects. This really reminds me of that era of design. I was going to say crafting, but it's more than crafting, isn't it? Of design. You know, I just had a thought. I thought of another video that I want to do this week, because I was thinking about the show that we did on Monday We were talking a little bit about surface design, and also on Friday night, remember the border with all the buttons and the beautiful one of the woman that had a lot of bling, again, around that small black border. We were talking a lot about surface application and what the possibilities were with that. That maybe is going to be another series of videos. I want to get into documenting our conversations so they're not so fleeting. But I was thinking about embellishing and surface decoration, and I was thinking about quilly, which is when you make those little round cinnamon rolls as small, as low or as high in terms of pile as you would like. They're just ends of, your wool strips coiled up like a little cinnamon bun and then sewn through with a stitch, just the way you would think that you would make them. And they are lovely, and you can make them small, large, high, low, irregular, super colorful, mono-colored, everything. And then I started thinking about this technique that I haven't done for ages, but would be easy to come back to, a kind of a version of a, Beverly, you're going to get this right away, a version of a wagon wheel rug, which is most commonly done on a hula hoop, right? Like a circular rug that you cut off of a hula hoop. More on that later. But the smaller version of that is doing it on a CD. So I'm doing like a weaving on a CD, and you end up with what looks like a CD-sized little pot holder thing that, in theory, also translates kind of like a quilly. And I thought, ooh, interesting, for people who love quilly, for people who love circles. I'm working on a project right now that I am keeping under my hat because it's for the Design Like book for Rug Cooking Magazine that will be out next year. But it's an artist who uses a lot of circles. He's not a very well-known artist, but I really am drawn to all of these circles, and some of them are quite large. And I thought, ooh, I might need to get back to that, weaving these CD things. I used to do it for fun, but I didn't see a lot of use for it. But now I can see more use for it, connecting them almost like quilt yo-yos, right, at the junctures where they touch, or installing them into your rug cooking project, sewing them directly onto your rug cooking project would be another great option for framing the piece with these larger, small weavings. Okay, let's make this into a video. I'm going to think about this and brainstorm because that just really became so obvious. Another incredibly easy project for us. Another feather in our caps. Once we know how to do it and see how it's done, you're going to go, oh, obviously, I could have been doing this in my sleep all along. We'll talk about all that because talking about embellishments, especially heading toward the holiday season, it's very far away. But heading toward it, I know a lot of people like to bling out their work. So we should be getting ready for these conversations about embellishments. Kirsten, oh, Carrie, great to see you from thundery Tampa Bay. That sounds exciting. Hopefully nothing bad is happening. Just maybe some needed rain. Is it needed down there? Gosh, we need the rain so badly up here. It's crazy. All right, let's come forward. Oh, another nice panel. Now we have seen this beautiful little chubby robin, right? Is that a robin? No, it's a bluebird with a bluebird with a like robin belly. What bird would that be? Someone's got to tell me. Is that like an oriole or something like that? And then this beautiful kind of kaleidoscope, almost like a Zentangle idea with a repeat in it, but not geometric, of the butterflies below. Isn't that pretty? So these are both super pretty. I know that we've seen the bird. I think it was in Rug Cooking Magazine, maybe even on the cover, or maybe it was a pull-out project. But we did see this bird because we talked about it, admired it, loved it. And this is another example of snow. I can't tell whether this looks more like gray snow, but it could be blue snow. Could be something in between. And you know what else? That looks like another little Alida Acres 1920 storybook cottage on top of that little hill. Isn't that cute? That, in theory, I wonder who the designer is, but it could be. It could be another one. I'm not going to say it in case it's not. But down below, interesting piece. Multiples are always strong. We say that all the time in design classes and when we're talking about composition. That's a bluebird. Okay, thank you so much. They do have rusty colored chests. Thank you, Linda. That is so pretty. I never see bluebirds. I see a lot of blue jays, but never bluebirds. What a cutie, huh? What a little belly. You know, with this geometric, with the repeat of butterflies, isn't it great to see this kind of composition where you are working with one element, but you are repeating them, right? Kind of the idea of tessellating, of turning them around, lifting them up and down and angling them at different degrees. That is essentially tessellating. Quilters know that term. Rug hookers are getting into it and realizing how much possibility and play there is in working on a composition with a repeat motif like this. Your eye looks at it and says, that is a bunch of butterflies. And then you are at leisure on your time to investigate each one. And in this case, they are outlined with this kind of Tiffany outline, the stained glass look, and it is making them look extra glowy and beautiful. What a beautiful composition. Unexpected for me to see them in a circle. With multiples, I usually am tempted to put them into a square or a rectangle so I can fit as many as possible. Seems like an extra challenge to put them into a circle, but not to put them at like places on the clock. In other words, to line them up by degrees perfectly balanced. Do you know what I mean? It's still very much like a scatter toss kind of a design in a circle. I find it very hard in a circle not to break it up into slices of pizza or pie and start placing things in all matchy-match. So it's very liberating and freeing to see this example because it does make me think you can start with a circle and start layering in your elements. It is basically the same picture over and over, but larger and smaller. And if you wanted to do something like this with a butterfly, with your favorite insect, bird, anything, you would just have that image, photocopy it, or do it on your printer, bigger, smaller, and everything in between, and then you just start placing it onto whatever shape you start with. In this case, it's a circle. And isn't that a fun project? You could do a series, placing them different ways each time, and then take the hot minute and stand back and think about, which one is the best. And it doesn't even matter why, does it? Why one composition would be better than another. It just matters that you like it and you see more possibility in this one or that one. But in terms of designing, this is a great, easy project for beginners to approach. Ted says the eastern bluebird was endangered, but it is making a comeback. That might be why I think I've seen one time in my life. It was funny. I remember when I went over to some lady's house to pick up some quilt fabric. This must have been maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And she lived in a town near my mom. She was an older lady, very, very nice. She had a beautiful older house. And we were chatting in the yard for a while. And she looked at me and then she looked away and she went, "Oh my God." And I turned around because I thought, what the hell is going on behind my back? And she goes, "That's a bluebird. I haven't seen one of those for ages." And I looked at it. And I was expecting to see a blue jay because I think I had ever seen a bluebird. And I looked at it and it was so blue. It was just impossibly blue. And it was so beautiful. And it just immediately went away. And she was looking after it. It was just one of those beautiful moments, I remember her perfectly. I remember what her face and her eyes looked like because I was so intent on this weird exchange of her seeing the bird. It was one of those nice moments, That was a bluebird for sure. She knew her birds. Oh, this is an exquisite piece. Isn't this different? This has an element of photorealism, but it also is very graphic. It's almost like a photographic piece that has a very severe filter on it. And for that reason, we are getting some amazing contrast and some amazing colors. Sometimes it's not a bad idea if you are working from a photograph. I get bored of all of those filters. I see a little bit too much of that on Facebook. Too many people, with all these filters on their faces and everybody looking eternally 17. I get my fill of that pretty quick. But those filters are handy for layering onto your artwork or your photographs or your drawings, because when you drop a filter in place, we know that like Lollipop will make it look like Willy Wonka candy shop kind of colors. But some of which is great if that's what you want, and that's often what I want with Halloween stuff and summer stuff. But sometimes the other filters do very strange things. And the more sophisticated and new your phone is, or your computer program on your laptop, the more filters you'll have access to. And that's exciting because dropping in filters means that you are able to look at your photo, your drawing, something you downloaded, particularly if it's in color, and to be able to go from filter to filter and see what elements you want to pop, because the filter does that for you. So in this case, it looks like the contrast was turned way up. When the contrast gets turned up, some of the medium colors pop and some of the dark colors merge. And that's interesting in terms of design because it gives you kind of an exaggerated view of this picture, of this view. And you're looking at it and it's kind of this deep, deep, deep sort of crevasse kind of a not gulch. What is it called when something goes into a deep, deep, deep pit? I know I used to know the name for it. There's one of them on the Little Bighorn battlefield, and I used to say it all the time. It was a weird word, though. But you see this, you get a sense of the depth, right? And all of these trees that are kind of disappearing into this darkness, and then you recognize it as kind of a fold in the landscape, in the topography, and this black kind of separates before your eyes into what look like individual groupings of trees. It becomes very interesting. The smaller trees on toward us in the front, toward the right, give us an idea of the scale. And just how large those larger groupings are. Maybe there's shadows. Maybe there's a lot of shadows in there too. But it's so interesting. It's just a great. It's a beautifully hooked piece. It's a masterfully hooked piece. Oh, are those dragonflies, Karen? God, what is wrong with me? Let me go back over there and check out the dragonflies. Oh my gosh, they are dragonflies. Of course they are. Look at their little knobby tails. How cute is that? Thank you, Karen. I'm just gonna remind you. Da 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 da. It's really bad. I swear I'm gonna go to the optometrist. I swear. Thank you. We needed that clarification. I'm sure there was probably everybody else out there going, what is she talking about? Not butterflies. Would still work with butterflies. This is just a gorgeous piece. It is extraordinary. And another, these are contrasting colors working together. That's one of the reasons it's popping. We have got blues, we've got yellows and oranges. This is the Van Gogh palette, but very different, isn't it? It is not a bright piece. If you squint your eyes and you look at the shapes, there is a strong V to it. And as we know from composition, learning about composition in school, there are several letters that operate as fantastic composition starts, and one of them is the V, the X, right? There's quite a few that we talk about in composition classes, the I, the H. This is certainly the V. When you squint, you see it so prominently. You start with something like that. A ravine. It's a ravine in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you. It is a ravine. I would never have thought of that word. It doesn't come up for me often enough. I appreciate that. That would have driven me crazy. Beautiful piece. Another beautiful piece. I'm guessing because we're seeing so many pieces with Waldoboro, maybe these are pieces that were in the main exhibit, right? Didn't we see like a hint of an exhibit that focused on the rug hooking tradition in Maine or Maine hookers, that kind of thing? I just feel like we're seeing so much Waldoboro. It's such a gift and a treat because we don't see, I think, enough of it. This is a beautiful, beautiful water view. Lovely little birds out, little sandpipers, heron-type birds, enjoying like this kind of marshy water, little small sandbars, and it looks like the water's coming in or coming out. In the distance, we're seeing a small row of what look like autumn-type trees, and we're seeing a great example of Waldoboro. I'm going to use the same word again, and I want to equate Waldoboro, particularly for people who are beginners, who are interested in other fabric and textile mediums. Waldoboro is like, if you are more of a fabric artist and quilter, it's more like trapunto, because you are choosing what parts of the composition you want to have raised, right, lifted from the surface. And if you were doing trapunto, you would have your second piece of material attached to your first. You'd have two pieces attached together, sewn together, quilted in whatever design, and you would be cutting small holes in the rear fabric and stuffing it very carefully with stuffing, like some kind of fill, right? And it would make it look raised on the front. And that's the same effect that we get when we do the Waldoboro hooking. It's a trickier technique for sure, but it's certainly something that everybody can practice and achieve, right? This is something that can go into your bag of tricks. It looks very complicated. It is just very, 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 very dense hooking and then clipping with the scissors. And you have to remind you clip with the scissors so you get as rounded or not, whatever kind of sculptural effect that you want. But as you can imagine, when you have scissors in your hand, whether you are cutting your bangs or creating Waldoboro effects, you go slow and you go careful. And we know that because we're grown-ups, right? We know that. We've all cut our bangs and done terrible, terrible things like that with scissors, cutting doll's hair, this kind of thing. It's the same idea. The same principle is in play. You go slow and you go easy and you see how it goes. And the magical thing about rug hooking and experimenting with the Waldoboro style is that unlike Barbie doll hair or our own hair, it does not, it cannot be immediately remedied, right? Our hair, but the Waldoboro can. If you do something that you don't like with the scissors, you are just pulling that part of the hooking out, right? And you are rehooking it and you are giving it another go. So it can be immediately remedied. It's like chia pet. You make it grow some more surface and then you try again. So Waldoboro looks like a tricky technique, but it is for everyone. No, it's for those of you who are interested. It is not for everyone. Only those who are interested. You should not do things that don't seem interesting for you just because we talk about them a lot. You should just do the things that really appeal to you. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, this is all Waldoboro. Okay, I wonder if this is, I'm trying to remember her name. She wrote the book. The main artist, right? She wrote the book on Waldoboro. Her granddaughter was in touch a while back on Coffee Time, and I showed some of the rugs that her granddaughter had of hers. Oh, if you think of it, let me know. It'll come to me. I think it might be on a future cue. I wasn't getting it when I went through these. I do see the board for the main thing. Okay, I see her book. Look at the bottom left of the photograph. You see the cover of the book? That is the book of the person I'm talking about. These must be her pieces. What a treat. These are all Waldoboro. She is known as like the queen of Waldoboro. So you see, just in terms of standing back, right? Let's look at the two florals that look like fairly common motif, floral scrolls, mid-20th century. But do you see how different they become when you do Waldoboro? They become remarkable. Really, it gives them this outstanding quality. Literally, I didn't mean to do that. Pun not intended, but I will take it. That was incredibly clever. Hope I can do that again. So even the most kind of expected looking rugs, and I don't mean that they're boring, I just mean we've seen this kind of thing before, can be brought to an extraordinary level by using Waldoboro. Karen, you did Waldoboro with your fortune teller piece, right? The crystal ball was done in Waldoboro, and that made an exceptional touch to that piece. That was an extraordinary statement in a piece that was already extraordinary. Kirsten says, I hope we can see if the cat is Waldoboro spelling. I'm not sure if I have a closer up of the cat. I can definitely scroll into, let me see if I can fool with the slide when we're done. The cat is definitely Waldoboro. I don't think the cat is, but I think the flowers are. I'm going to scroll into him last. And then the one on the top right, you know what, let's do this now. I just have to say, you look at the black one, right, on the bottom left, the black floral. I do really like this one. I like both of the ones that are the more traditional ones, the one with the flower and the bow. I love bouquets of flowers, and you rarely see a bow to me that is so sweet and sort of Victorian looking. I love it. But the black one, I really love the color palette. I love those kind of faded down pastels with those antique golds and bronzes. That is really a great color palette. For me, that makes that piece very different. It's also a very, very lush and oversized inner diamond, right? But looking at that piece, that book, who knows that book about, I think it's just rug hooking in Maine or something like that. It's something about Maine. And I forget who wrote it. But anyway, I feel like this is the rug on the cover. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know if you feel the same way. I'm looking at this rug and tipped the other way, like the vertical way. I feel like it's the one on the cover, and it might well be because of the nature of the book. It's a Schiffer published book. It is an oversized paperback size, but it is insanely big. Like it is like larger than the Bible kind of size. It is enormous. Interesting. I'm curious to know because now I have that in my head. I'm seeing if I can, hang on. Let me see. I'm seeing if I can do some sneakies and enlarge this. Let's do this together. Here I am. Okay, let me see. Let me know if your screen is changing while I do this. Mine is, but I don't know if yours is. And if it works, I might do this kind of thing more often. I'm getting very brazen, aren't I, with this technology? That's about as big as I can go. And let me know if you saw the change on your screen. This is going to be fun if I can do this kind of stuff live. So it looks to me like the cat is not Waldoboro. It's the flowers around and above and below. At least that's what it looks like. I might be wrong. That cat is so cute. It looks almost like a British fold, like the ears are coming forward and are a little bit round. very cute, soft expression on the cat. Beautiful piece. And the piece on the right, I was looking to see if I could see Waldoboro because it isn't this display. It looks like it says Scarborough, Maine, maybe Juneau House, something like that. Oh gosh, okay, you saw the changes. That's amazing. Thanks, Mom. Don't forget to thumbs up. Thank you. Thumbs up, like, subscribe. Consider joining Patreon. Huge shout out always to Patreon members. I always forget to say my thanks. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing Waldoboro one on the Scarborough, Maine one, but I could be wrong. Interesting. I'm going to take it once. Good. I'm so glad. Since I know it's working, let's take it even further. I don't know. Does the cat look raised to you? Now the tail, now that I blew it up a little bit more, is looking possibly a little bit raised. Interesting. All right, let me see if we can come across to the other one too. Don't want to make you motion sick. Yeah, I don't see raised parts on this one. They could be there, and maybe I'm just not seeing them. All beautiful pieces, right? Absolutely beautiful pieces. Well, now we know that we have a new trick up our sleeves. Let's see what this one is. Oh, okay. Maine Historic Figures and Organizations. Wow. This one is a bit dark. I wish I would have, which I should have dealt with because it's a beautiful photo. Oh, wow. I'm looking at the text on the exhibit board too, and the beaver, which is so cute. Rug hooking in Maine. Okay, so no, that's not the book that I was thinking of. The book I'm thinking of must have a different name, because I'm sure that there's a book with a black cover with a black background rug on it, but it's definitely not the one that's called Rug Hooking in Maine. So this is remarkable, this piece. It's so nice being able to zoom closer. It is Linda Ann. Figuring out all these little tricks as I go. Excellent. Lori says Sculptured Rugs in Waldoboro Style book by Jacqueline Hansen. Thank you. That's it. That's it. So I'm thinking that probably because that display was right next to Jacqueline's book. Thank you so much. I'm thinking those were Jacqueline's rugs. That would make a lot of sense, right? Oh, parts of the cat at Waldoboro, Carrie. Thank you. I know you're all seeing this much larger. I'm going to do the trick again, and I want to look at this rug a lot bigger. I want to look at the display too. Let's look at the display. Oh, these might be images from this book. This is just beautiful. Mildred Cole Pelado. So she is the author of that book. Okay. I think she's also the author of the, not the Jacqueline Hansen book, but there's another book on Waldoboro that I have it might be for a museum. It's like it's smaller. I think it might be a staple bound, but I think it's called Art Underfoot. I'm pretty sure that's also Mildred Cole Pelado, and that is another beautiful book. We have covered that on Coffee Time. Interesting. All right, mysteries being solved. One more. Let me stretch this one more time. Look away if it's given you seasickness here. Oh wow. This looks like an old rug, doesn't it? This looks like an old rug. What made me feel like that was looking at the border. You see how there's like kind of a turquoise and a garnet red on the border that's kind of coming in and out like postage stamp. Really, really pretty. I think this is an antique rug. This is extraordinary. Doesn't that look like a paperweight in the middle? I mean, and seeing a nice old pattern like this, I get so excited with stuff like this because it's such a simple design. And you can see somebody back in the 19th century. This looks like it's certainly a 19th century rug. It is beautiful, Jill, isn't it? It's a piece of our history. The colors, right? They were being very careful with their colors, trying to infuse some of the central motifs with some exciting colors, but also wanting to get that border done with, the turquoisey green and the garnet color in there. But you can just see somebody sitting there going, okay, I have a circle in the middle. I'm going to put a design like this, and it works. And I'm going to add some circles around the edge, and that works too. And then maybe they're saying, okay, probably something in the corner. Let me get something like this, like maybe found some little leaves outside, those little roundy leaves, put something in there, and add a flower. But in this case, it looks like she added a heart to the four corners. And then there's still some negative space. There's still too much negative space. So she adds a flower motif on the two sides where there's the most negative space. And then she's saying to herself, I'm assuming it's a she, but it might be a he. She's saying to herself or he, I still have some extra room. What else can I do? I've got some flowers in, I've got some hearts, I've got my central motif. What else can I do? And then she starts to work on these hit or miss diamonds. And she's got 4 big ones and 4 small ones, and it is just beautiful. And it's just a great reminder. 1840 house, Carrie. Oh gosh, is that what it said? Not Juno house, 1840 house. Da 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 da. What is wrong with me? Thank you so much. This is a great reminder. It's something we need to keep reminding ourselves as rug hookers. If you say to yourself, this is the day, this afternoon, I'm going to design my own rug. And you take a piece of printer paper out and you put it down on the table and you're thinking, what am I going to do? This is what you do, right? You just break it up the way that this rug is broken up. Just design by design. It doesn't have to be a statement on the world as it is. It doesn't have to change our lives now, tomorrow, and forever. It just has to be something where you can practice, work on it, infuse a little color, infuse a little time, a little love, and you might end up with a piece that changes the world. You never know, right? It doesn't take an extraordinary, complicated design to make something beautiful. This is something beautiful, and it's a design that anybody could make, right? Of any age. Partly hit or miss. I know, isn't that great when it is partly hit or miss, because it does give you access to your stuff, your colors that you love, that you haven't used up. And if you've already cut stuff up into worms, you know that it's better to use it, if you can, sooner rather than later. The thinner the worms, in my mind, the sooner you want to use them up, because they do turn into a bit of a rat's nest, right? And they are usable in the future, and you can even double them up and do all kinds of nice effects with them. But it's good if you can use them sooner rather than later. And it's almost good, almost as like a speed bump to our more complicated projects as hookers. As like a built-in speed bump, it's almost like you should wash your brain once in a while by saying, nope, I did a couple ones that were difficult in a row. I'm going to do something now that I draw myself that has a lot of hit or miss elements to it. Because number one, it's a good way to wash my brain and just reset myself. It's a good way to just practice different techniques, no pressure, no overarching plan. And it's a good way to use up all my pieces that I've already cut before they get all tangly and they don't look quite as fresh and lush as they do now. So not a bad idea, not a bad routine to get into. All right, let's see what our next one is. I want to get through a few more here. Okay, so this is another part of the main exhibit. I recognize this artist as Lucy Trask Bonnard. This is one of the people, let me make this larger, who I am absolutely obsessed with as an artist. As far as this is images, and this information about Lucy is in the Pelagier book, Mildred's book. So it isn't, there are several rugs, right? There's these 3, maybe there's one more, I'm not sure. It's not a huge body of work that is known, but it is entirely likely that there are more out there. Why shouldn't there be? Interesting, beautiful, extraordinary work. I know I've covered this artist on Coffee Time. I hope to cover her again because I hope to take a trip to Maine with the special purpose of like walking around her area, looking around her area where she lived, seeing if I can recognize any of the houses that are in her work. You see 2 of them are the same, the second and the last, the middle one different. But I would just love to kind of immerse myself in this landscape and these colors and try to just get a feel for her, check out antique stores around there, see what I can see, get inspiration, gather inspiration for a full episode on Lucy Trask Barnard, because she was truly extraordinary. And incidentally, we talked about her in the same episode that we talked about the artist behind this bottom image, which is maybe, it's definitely in my top 3 favorite hooked rugs of all time, Marguerite Zorak. It was the episode that I did a year or 2 ago where I was talking about artists who are known as fine artists, right? Painterly, fine gallery artists who also hooked rugs, like as a sideline. Marguerite was one of these artists. So she came up in this. I'm going to do my trick again. I think she is mentioned in the Pelado book 2 Let's first look at this little display. Okay, Marguerite Zorak. Oh, and her daughter. What is it? Dalov Ipkar. I forget what the first name is. Something like that. The daughter is a very well-known artist too. I mean, she's a very well-known living painter. Extraordinary. I see the pig, the Oreo pig. I know we covered that on Coffee Time. And the cheetah is the daughter, Ipkar. Definitely. I remember that because that's extraordinary. We should cover this family again. They are, I remember talking about her kitchen and the description. Oh, we did a great episode on this. If you're liking the way this looks, search back in Coffee Time for Ipkar, Ipcar, or Zorak, Zorach. Amazing, amazing work. And this is Marguerite the mum's work. Don't do it. Don't do it. It looks like it needs I don't know if it needs a little bit of a cleaning. I don't know if it can take a little bit of a cleaning. I'd like to see it a little bit brighter. And I remember saying when we looked at this piece, I just love this piece so much. The border is an army green. It is not black. So set your eye to an army green so that you can sort of regard the rest of it in the true color palette. There are not a lot of female cubists out there historically. There's just not a lot. Marguerite Zorak crossed over into Cubism in a huge way, and this is a great example of that. And because it's so rare, it really appeals to me. It gives you the breaks, the kind of pizza pie slices that are taken out of the central composition, the overall composition. Really, it's cubist, but it also reminds me of the color wheel, in part because she swaps out her colors in the border. You like that idea, huh, Mom? I like that idea too. It's a good way of forcing yourself to slow down a little bit with your projects too, and taking the pressure off every once in a while with your project. April says, I am ready to reset my brain. I've been working on a difficult piece and I'm ready to just hook for the fun of it. Absolutely. I think it's so important to get off the treadmill and know when you, I don't want to say are struggling, but know when it's time to take a break with something and to move to something else. Let the pendulum swing way in the other direction. Let it really swing and really enjoy doing something that is relaxing and 100% fun. And then think about the project that is a bit heavier in the future when everything is a bit clearer, right? When clarity and sanity are restored. That is the right time. I'm realizing it looks like there's a hole in this rug, and it's a perfect circle. I wonder if it was like a chair leg or something like that. Gosh, but don't you love this piece? A name to remember, M. Zorak. Heidi, right? I know. It's just crazy times when I look at her work. It's just, I love this piece so much. And I think one of the things I love about it, her being a mother is a big part of her story, because I remember in reading and setting up the episode about her that the main reason that she cited for being a rug hooker was this domestic time that she got sitting with the family, with her kids and her husband, who was a famous sculptor, being able to be part of the family dynamic and not somewhere else painting, like in her studio. So she was able, with rug hooking, to sit right there in the family and be part of life and still work on a creative piece that furthered her career, furthered her creativity, kept her busy, kept her interested. So it makes a lot of sense. But the idea of kind of crossing symbols of domesticity, right? Like a still life of a fruit bowl, right? Somebody has supplied all this lovely fruit for the family to eat. It's a fairly domestic and familiar subject, but to put it into this framework of being a cubist, rug-hooked piece is kind of extraordinary. I can't think of another example that is like this. I have to say, it's another great trick that she's done here. If you follow with your eye, it's not a circle, as we know, right? It does have a color wheel quality because of the way she's broken up colors in the borders into something that resembles a spectrum. One color, lighter color again. She's broken it up to look like a color wheel, but it is a stretched color wheel. It is not an oval. It's almost like it was a circle that got cut with a pair of scissors in the middle, stretched and retraced, right? It's more than an oval. It has more rigidness than an oval. But you can see that the center point is not in the center of the composition. The center point, if you look up from the watermelon and that blue pie slice, where the grapes are, that's the central point. for the center, and you know that because if you follow your eye from where all of those lines come in from the border toward the center, you expect them to land in the center, and they don't. They land off center. That creates added interest for sure, right? It's unexpected. She pulls her central point, right? Her perspective point where the lines are meant to meet. She pulls it a little bit off center to the right, a little bit low and a little bit to the right. And then she slams this bunch of black grapes on top of it, which I think is so exciting. Your eye gets drawn into these grapes. It's almost funny somehow. And then the grapes looking north, kind of diagonally northwest, the color of the grapes is part of that spectrum of color in the border, just 2 shades lighter, right? So other examples of that grape color. And I like how the watermelon is positioned where it is on the other side of the grapes, and then down below there's another kind of slice of a similar watermelon, but with a tinge more salmon color in it. This is like a study in what we were saying earlier, what Kirsten brought up. Studying the color wheel and color theory is different than studying color in dyeing, because dyes are not the same as the color wheel. The finished colors are, but the practice of dyeing, in dyeing, you will discover that there are no rules that have any relationship to the color wheel, because every dye color is made up of so many other colors. This is something that you need to discover and unravel as you go along. Dyeing it is an adventure. It is not a flat piece of printed paper with colors on it like the color wheel. So interesting. I feel like this piece, maybe we'll end on this piece today, really it is like the cover photo for that conversation, isn't it? Isn't it also curious how, just in terms of style and design, look at the way she's handled seeds in this piece. It is a very artful handling of seeds. I've done watermelons before, and I do the seeds quite literally. I always do little pips and little seeds and things quite literally. And this is reminding me, you don't have to do that. This pineapple doesn't have seeds, but she's got these dots of black on it. She's got it very round because she's trying to maintain its form as a cubist element, right, and not as a pineapple. So she has over-stylized the different fruits so that they would be very blocky and cubist. But she has made different choices, like turning little pips and seeds into little dots. The watermelon seeds are a little more realistic, and the apple seeds, I think on the top left under the purple bar, those are a little bit longer too. But she's made different choices about different fruits and how she's going to handle the different seeds. I just think it's interesting. It's also really interesting to me that with the grapes, it's not a perfect grape shape, is it? She wasn't able to do the grapes in a real cubist style by fattening them up and making them heavy the way she did with the other fruits. The grapes are much too sort of filigree, right? It's a multiple, so that it's not going to work the same way. But she hasn't blocked it off and broken it up to be something that resembles grapes in the cubist style. She has let them be little round units as they are. Oh, that is a strawberry, Heidi. You're right. I thought that was an apple slice. That is absolutely a strawberry. And it's cut kind of in half, giving it that sort of heart shape. Isn't that beautiful? And the birds, too. I didn't mention the birds in this piece are beautiful. The color change on the bottom of the bowl, right? The bowl is meant to be either glass or maybe silver, but definitely she doesn't want that to be one of the main features. The swirl of the color, the swirl of the fruits, and certainly the shapes are what the story is about here. Really beautiful piece. Something to think about. We talked about cubism a lot in our design-like Chagall class, because of course that was a big part of the way that he designed and the way that he thought. He experimented, Chagall, with so many different movements of art, and he wasn't married to any of them. He kind of took them for what they were, took the best of them for himself, as related to himself, and continued to use those elements through his life and his work. But he never was one, like some artists are, as soon as something happens, like Cubism, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and there they are, and that's where their career sits, which isn't a bad thing, right? Because you can take Cubism very, very far in and of itself. But it is funny to think about that sort of distinction between being the kind of artist who's more of a magpie, who more says, like, I'm not going to buy 10 different records. I would like the greatest hits. And with our technology now, I'm going to choose my greatest hits, not yours. And I'll put them all on my MP3 or on my phone and listen to them. Same thing with art, right? You choose, and that's what this Design Like series is great for. By the way, current Design Like series that I have now put up, Design Like Grandma Moses, is up there for you. This is a very folky edition, completely different exercises than we've ever done before, looking at 3 folk artists. Grandma Moses is one of them. 2 others that worked in that very naive style will be super helpful to any rug hooker or designer. Doesn't have to be someone who likes Grandma Moses in particular, but someone who likes to know how folk compositions are put together in a way that makes them look truly antique and naive. This is the class that will discuss that. But it is interesting to think, as an outgoing thought to this episode, it is interesting to think about, if you're a collector, and I know many of you are, and I am too. I collect a lot of things besides rugs. I'm a magpie. So I like my collections of collections, and I love to try to cross over all the things I love. Collections with my rug hooking, right? That's why I do so much storytelling in my rug hooking, because I like to bring elements that I love, like amusement parks, department store windows, into my rug hooking, because then I hit my sweet spot many times over. All those great mathematical crossovers make for the perfect piece. That's something to think about if you're also a person who feels like you have a collecting kind of a mindset. You know, someday or some night when you're falling asleep, just think about all of the things that you love the most. And that is a great starting point for thinking about your next rug and what you would like to put into it. You can put lots of things into it. You don't have to stick with one motif or one theme. You can do, if you love cubism and you love gardening and fruit, put it in one piece. Cross it over. Be crazy. If you also like birds, put that in it too. You know, it just goes to show sometimes we are so literal in the way that we design and we think about what the possibilities are, we miss the opportunity to infuse more of who we are and what we like into the piece we're working on. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be working on your hooked piece or your punched piece for a long time. Some of us are faster than others, but it'll be a while. And knowing that, you might as well be working on a piece where you love every part of it and it reminds you of other things, right? It strikes lots of chords with you. That's ideal, isn't it? Well, we will continue this conversation. We still have not gotten anywhere near through Sauder Village, but we'll have to return to it. I will be back with you on Friday for cocktail time, and it is gallery night on Friday. And many of you are sending me some wonderful pieces, all wonderful pieces that you're working on and projects that you're thinking of. I've got a great episode going, but I can always use more. If you have some stuff you'd like to send for gallery night, please send it to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com, or you can send it to Facebook, right? Our rug hooking group is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. Send me a private message if you want, so it can be a secret and I can bust it out on gallery night instead of posting it so everybody's already seen it. Although I love those too, because not everybody's on Facebook. Send me your work, send me your ideas, your designs. Even if you just want to send me a note and you're not working on a piece that has a visual component to it yet, and you just want to say, I've been sitting here racking my brain thinking about how to do a piece that expresses my love for, I don't know, the design of a dollar bill. Anything, right? Does anybody have any ideas about design, about how to do it? We can bring up abstract conversations like this too. We're perfectly capable of visualizing without seeing things. So if you're working on an even more abstract idea and you want to brainstorm together, send that as a note to me for gallery night too. That is still a very viable gallery night item that we will enjoy just as much as looking at pictures, at least as much, right? Hit like, guys. Oh, thank you. P.S. Oh, Scarfield's there, and the color choices. What fun! I'm so glad you liked them. I always put things together that I like too, so I'm really glad that you liked them. I thought they were really, really good. You have to show me when it's done. Oh, you are so welcome. Lots of fun. We will return to Sauder Village someday soon. But in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to gallery night. I will